NetSuite Professional Services 101 demonstration by Fusion 5. So my name is Steve Pye. I'm the Senior Sales Executive at Fusion 5. I've been doing NetSuite, selling NetSuite for over 12 years now, and work with many businesses from small startups to large enterprise organizations, from small employee size of 5 to 10 employees to largest customer of 1,000 employees. I've worked with businesses across Australia and New Zealand, and yeah, quite passionate about NetSuite and working with businesses as they go through the digital transformation. And with me is my colleague Jared Tuxworth. He'll introduce himself a little bit later, and basically Jared will be taking you through the demonstration about NetSuite. I also encourage you, if you have any questions, please fire them through to the chat section there in the panel, and then we'll be more than happy to cover them off as we go through the presentation. The agenda today, I'm just going to talk about Fusion 5, about who we are, also a bit of overview about NetSuite, NetSuite Professional Services Automation, and then I'll hand the mic over to Jared, who will take you through a demonstration. We'll have a few minutes at the end of the sessions for any Q&A. A bit about Fusion 5. So we've been around since 2002, and we're a IT consulting company. So we provide consulting services to businesses across Australia and New Zealand from various industries. Not only do we do ERP, but also we've got what we call other pillars that manage the cloud security, transformation. We've got an HCM team, as well as managed services team. So a bit about Fusion 5 in terms of NetSuite. So we're a professional services business as well, being a consulting company, and with regards to working with clients as they go through their digital transformation and looking at NetSuite around professional services automation, we provide full life cycle in terms of clients that are going through that implementation. We provide education, training, support, as well as managed services. Our consultants bring many years of industry experience from wholesale distribution, manufacturing, professional services, retail, non-for-profit, and many more. Our consultants are also certified as well, so we're proud to have a talented team of consultants across our Australia and New Zealand business. And then what we call a suite success is really a pre-configured solution that NetSuite had developed over the years for clients in different industries, and also the global reach with Fusion 5. So we both look after Australia and New Zealand for both for our clients, but also we have clients that have global representation as well. A bit about NetSuite. So NetSuite's been around since 1998, so it was built in the cloud from day one. There are over 34,000 organizations that run NetSuite. There are about 1,500, 2,000 in Australia, and about 500-600 in New Zealand that run NetSuite. It's used in over 270 countries globally. It supports 24 languages. There are over 100 plus tax regimes, 190 plus currencies, and 90 plus bank payment formats, and it is the #1 cloud ERP or professional services automation tool. I want to show you the slide where clients in the professional services space, why they would look at NetSuite, and typically, with years of experience, clients would talk to me about, currently using so many smaller applications. As an example, using Xero and using a payroll system and Workflow Max, Monday.com, and an expense management system and a CRM. And really they get to a point where they're running multiple systems or multiple applications, and really they want to try and consolidate it all rather than having lots of integration. So people tend to sort of move up to NetSuite. So that's where clients are going through that, that growth phase, and why they look at NetSuite. But then also clients that are going through a digital transformation and moving away from an on-premise solution to NetSuite as well. So really just wanted to show as an example why clients would look at NetSuite for professional services. So because NetSuite is modular based, So out of the box, this is what clients could potentially have. And from NetSuite being a one platform, or what we call one version of the truth, you get all this capability and functionality with NetSuite, from your accounting financials to your CRM, your project costings, procurements, AP automation, payroll, expense management, budgeting, provides real-time dashboards and real-time reporting for the individual users there within the organization. And in today's part, where Jared will be covering off, is really around the projects and how NetSuite manages projects for clients across Australia and New Zealand. NetSuite out of the box comes with pre-configured reporting and KPIs, dashboards and reminders, and it comes standard with over 250 plus reports. NetSuite is also compliant with all browsers as well, and also runs on mobile devices through iOS and Google Play for Android devices. So if you look across this presentation around, the project management, project billing, project cost capture, some of the challenges that we come across with clients, as an example around project management, very manual processes, lack of visibility across the organization. From the billing side, just lots of spreadsheets again, and very manual, and then third-party applications that don't integrate, well with their current system. So in terms of the solution, what NetSuite does, it's got project management and accounting, also includes the work breakdown structure and project dashboards with KPIs and metrics. Other solutions around flexible billing rules as well, for clients that are charging out from fixed price to time materials, and also milestone. And we can also schedule and automate those billing operations. And then time and expense as well, because NetSuite has that built into the solution as well. So for people that are out in the field, people that are on site doing some consulting work and then putting their time against that project, and then that feeding through to the invoicing. So that's really that seamless integration and streamlining those business processes for clients that really value a system like NetSuite. So just as standard, NetSuite comes with KPIs from utilizations through project forecasting, overall project profitability. It provides metrics as well, and also reports there that you can see. From accounting visibility, project budgeting and project cost capture. Again, some of the challenges that clients face was having disparate systems or out-of-date data. It's very limited budgeting and lots of manual processes, and really unable to capture all the project costs. And sometimes with clients are trying to capture the overall or total project costs, it is quite manual. So, the solution of what NetSuite can do is, providing real-time financial data with being one single system. It comes with a project budgeting, actual budgeting reporting, direct and indirect project cost capture as well, as an example, expenses, procurements, and things like that. Again, KPIs and reports. Again, NetSuite has a raft of KPIs, also metrics and reports. So you'll see it in the demonstration today with Jared, just how flexible and also how easy it is to use NetSuite from a user interface, and how we design dashboards and how we set up dashboards for the individual users across your business and organization. So that's it for me. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'll hand the mic over to Jared. Let me just share that with you, Jared. Just 1 second.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning, everybody. Nice to be with you. Thanks for taking the time. My name's Jared. I'm a solution architect here at Fusion 5. My job is to ensure that we tailor your NetSuite instance to your business, and we turn on the right modules and set everything up the right way. I just wanted to make one brief point before I start. NetSuite is a very robust and large ERP system, as you would expect. and I could talk about professional services and projects within NetSuite for a week easily. So condensing it into 40, 45 minutes today, we will really just be keeping it at a very high level. If you see things done a certain way, or if there are things that appear to be missing that you would expect, feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go. It's not an enormous audience today, so I'm happy to take questions as we go. Or you can always reach out to Steve or myself afterwards. It's very likely that the functionality does exist. We just didn't have the time to get into the details today. So just as a brief agenda, I'll spend about 10 minutes just showing everyone who is seeing NetSuite for the first time, just the basics of navigation and dashboards and users and roles and things like that. Then we'll spend another 10 minutes having a look at the basic NetSuite interface, the record structure, and the consistent user experience and functionality that we see across the whole of NetSuite. And then I'll focus the second half of the presentation more specifically on project management and professional services. And so how do we structure our projects? How do we track our time and our expenses? What are our methods for billing customers and things like that? Again, if you have any questions on the way through, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I can help with that. So with that, for those who are seeing NetSuite for the first time, welcome. Here it is. This is NetSuite. So we're logged in at the moment as Mark Collins. And Mark Collins, you can see in the upper right corner here, is logged in using the role of project manager. So roles are the bedrock of accessing NetSuite. The role that you log in with governs all of your permissions, which areas of the system you can access, which records you can create, edit, delete, etc. And it also controls all of your dashboards and views and the way the system appears to you. By doing it in a role-based structure, it makes onboarding and offboarding staff much easier. Controls such as separation of duties are much more streamlined. And it also enables that suite success methodology that Steve was speaking about earlier. So when Steve was saying that we have suite success, which is a pre-configured list of roles and dashboards and other views, I'll show you what he means by that. This account that we're using at the moment, we have all of these different roles pre-configured, from CEO to CFO, project manager, operations, etc. And each of those roles has a granular list of permissions that are relevant to someone performing a role such as that. And they all have their own dashboards, and they all have their own searches and views throughout the system that we'll see. And this demo account has not been customized for this demo. We've added a little bit of data so that we can see a functioning example. But all of these roles and all of these dashboards and everything that you're seeing today comes out of the box with your NetSuite solution. So when you log into NetSuite for the first time under any of these roles, you'll see them in exactly the way that we see them today. So as you would expect, all of these different roles require access to different information. And so as I switch between them, you'll see that my dashboard changes dramatically to be relevant to the user in question. And so a chief financial officer, for example, wants quick access to a balance sheet, an income statement, and trial balance, and has very financial performance related KPIs and a set of reminders that are responsible, that he or she would be responsible for. An AP analyst, for example, is interested in seeing an AP register, how many bills they have to pay, who's a list of my vendors, and they want to have shortcuts to these different types of billing related transactions. And thus is true for all of the other roles that we have here. We'll jump on as a project manager just to start with, because it's a project related demonstration. But all of these roles and dashboards come pre-configured with your NetSuite Suite Success instance. And what that means is we're 80% of the way there. And so we may still require some additional configuration and customization and roles and things like that. But at least having this starting point that has been generated over 2 decades of experience working with other professional services firms by starting with all of these best practices and all of these pre-configured setups. It minimizes the amount of additional work that is required to make your ERP specific to your business. What that means is we get faster time to market, better value for money, etc. So let me just walk you around the dashboard here. We'll start from the top and work our way around. Very quickly, the help functionality is fantastic in NetSuite. It's very structured and you can read about how to use any part of the system using the help. We also have a Suite Answers support community available, which is an enormous user community that have encountered just about any problem you could imagine. And there's a very well documented database of those questions and answers to be able to self-serve a lot of your problems. And so a huge amount of self-service support is available without having to come to Fusion 5 for support specifically. Moving further around, we have our quick add functionality. So any record that you're creating very frequently in NetSuite that you want to be able to create quickly from your home screen, you can personalize your quick add functionality and add them very quickly using that. And we have our global search, just like Google. You can type anything in here and it will return all of the NetSuite records with that name. If we want to filter this search to only include records of a certain type, for example, we only want to see customers with this word, we just prefix it with the first 2 letters of the record type, and that will restrict the search to just that record type. You can also use wildcard symbols and other neat functionality to make that search very user-friendly. You'll find that you do about half of your navigation in NetSuite just using that global search. Continuing our journey around, we have our recent records here. And so as you're using NetSuite, if you need to go back to a place where you were recently, all of your recent records are stored here and you're able to quickly go back and access them. The shortcuts are very handy. So if at any stage during your NetSuite usage, you find yourself returning to a particular page or report or search or any other area regularly, you can just add that page as a shortcut. This menu is always available when you're in NetSuite, and so from wherever you are in the system, if you need to get back to those commonly accessed pages, you can just use these shortcuts. The home icon will take you back to your home dashboard and allow you to set your preferences, and the rest of the categories here control the functional areas of NetSuite, which you'll use from time to time. Okay. So let's jump in and have a look at our dashboard functionality here. We'll just spend 5 minutes on this and then move on to some other things. The first thing to mention is that dashboards are highly configurable, both by the end user who has their dashboard, but administrators are also able to set up these dashboards and push them out to different roles. So lots of ability to customize there. We can change both the layout. So right now I've got a tri-screen on this dashboard. I can set it up to all be on one, or I can have a left pane and a right pane, etc. But more importantly, we can add all sorts of portlets to these dashboards. So each of these white sections is called a portlet, and there are a wide variety of those portlets that we can choose to add to enhance our dashboard experience. Things like if I want to be able to see a KPI meter or see my calendar or have the results of a search displayed on the dashboard or see a list of my tasks or my shortcuts or do a search right from the NetSuite dashboard. These are all different portlets that are available. What we'll do is we'll have a look into just maybe 3 or 4 of them. That's just not enough time to explore it fully. But this will at least give you a flavor for some of the portlets that are available. So first we can see the reminders portlet here. This one's really handy for seeing reminders of actions that you need to take right now. And so each of these is just returning a query of the database. So how many orders do I need to fulfill? How many time entries do I need to approve? How many tasks do I have that are overdue? But of course, like with most things in NetSuite, it's trivially easy to create your own and add more of these. So if I want to see tasks that are overdue, that were assigned to me by a certain person that are over this many days old, I can easily create that search as well and add that as a reminder. All of these have the ability to take action directly from the dashboard. So for example, if I click into any of these, I will see either all of my time entries that I have to approve or all of my orders that I have to fulfill. And I can take the action of fulfilling them right here from the result of the reminders portlet. And so it's a very, very flexible tool. I can add as many different reminders that are relevant for my role. And it enables people to take action on their daily tasks very quickly right from the dashboard. The tiles portlet here is fairly self-explanatory. We have just navigation to the parts of the system that are most relevant to our role very quickly. We have a more granular navigation shortcut group here as well. Again, everyone will be able to set theirs up for their use of the system. And so me as a project manager, I frequently want to go to my projects or customers or create a new project or approve time. CFOs and other different roles will do different things, and so they'll have their shortcut group set up for their role. Next up, we have the key performance indicator portlet. This one's very handy for tracking all sorts of metrics. At risk of sounding like a broken record, it's extremely configurable. So we can see we can create KPIs that are specific to your business, and we can add those KPIs to this portlet for the role that that KPI is most applicable for. And we can choose for each KPI, we can define the period that we're looking at and also the comparison period. The results will display here. And like with everything in NetSuite, we can drill down very easily. So if I want to see all of the billable hours for this month, or what makes up the forecast of project billing for this month, or what are my 40 open projects for this month, it's very easy to drill down and look into them. And we can quickly access each of those results, as you can see. We also have the ability to, with all of these dashboards, they are live. So the beautiful thing about working with one fully integrated system with all of your data and having it cloud-based is that everything is live. Everything we do is live. And so as soon as somebody creates a time entry, immediately their approver will see it in their time to approve. As soon as someone bills some time, you'll see it here as billable hours. Everything is live, and this dashboard is up to date as you use it. If you do need to refresh an individual portlet instead of reloading the whole page, just use the little refresh button up in the corner here. We also have trend graphs for each of our KPIs. And so you can see those KPIs in various different forms. And you can very easily export these for use in your board presentations or any other presentations that you're doing. Final portlet, this KPI meter off to the side here. This just represents any one of these KPIs in its own individual graphical format. And it's just handy for the most important ones for people to have that visual indication. So as I said, there are many, many, many more. You can see a range of them on our dashboard here, different lists, project milestones, task lists, charts. Not enough time to look at all of them, but dashboards are highly configurable for your business, and it's very easy to do that configuration, both at the end user level or an internal administrator. It's not rarely something that you'll need to get Fusion 5 to do for you. So it's a great way to create an excellent user experience for your end users who will be using this system. Okay, so what we might do is have a look at a customer record. All of your projects will relate to a customer. And so we might start there in terms of having a look at a record in NetSuite. And so for a lot of you, this will be the first time seeing a record in NetSuite. And something that is, in my opinion, one of NetSuite's greatest strengths is that every NetSuite record will look very similar to this one. So this is a customer, but if we were looking at a vendor or a project or a transaction of some kind, a purchase order or an invoice or a quote, they all follow this same structure and they all have a lot of the same functionality. And the reason that that is so advantageous is, as well as users being able to become familiar with the system very quickly, our ability to configure and customize the system to suit our business is dramatically enhanced. And so I want to pause here for a moment to say that many people will tell you, and they'll correctly tell you, that customizing your ERP system is a no-no, and you should, as much as possible, try to use things out of the box and standard. Otherwise, you'll encounter problems like version lock. Your customizations will not scale as the solution is upgraded, and you'll require ongoing maintenance and care of your customizations. And that is all absolutely true, and that is very good advice. With NetSuite, though, you have the ability to do a significant amount of configuration as opposed to customization and light customization without having any of those problems that are associated with traditional ERP systems. Your ability to customize NetSuite, some of which we'll talk about right now, will not affect flow-on processes, and it will not create version lock, and it will not prevent you from realizing the benefits of future upgrades to the base product. So the ability to take NetSuite and customize it to your business it's very easy to do. It takes a very small amount of time, and it's extremely scalable and doesn't present many of the traditional problems. So as an example, this record, like any other record that you'll see in NetSuite, has fields on it, which you can see in the upper section here. Those fields are also organized into sub-tabs, we call them. And these sub-tabs contain more fields and also lists of related records. So for example, this list is a list of all of the email messages that were sent to this customer. And just using that basic knowledge, any fields that are not relevant to your business, removing fields is trivially easy. Any fields that are not here, that are specific to your business, it is extremely easy to add additional fields to these records. And they look and behave and interact with the database in exactly the same way as all of these native fields that you're seeing now. Same with the lists. Under financial here, I've got under sales, I've got a list of all my opportunities and a list of all of my transactions. But if instead of one list for all my transactions, I wanted to see a list for my opportunities, a list for my quotes, a list for my sales orders, a list for my invoices. Again, trivially easy to create different types of lists just to make sure that the user experience of working with NetSuite is really tailored nicely to your particular business. So I'll take you through some basic functionality that is applicable to all NetSuite records, and then we'll jump into the projects and the professional services topics in a bit more detail. But just quickly, from any record, almost any record in NetSuite, we have the ability to create and send emails. And so we just go to the communication tab and we click on the email button. The recipient will automatically populate here, but of course we can change the email address if we want to send it to somebody else. And if we want to add other people either in the to, the CC or the BCC lines, we can add as many different recipients as needed. We then craft our message, as you'd expect, just a subject and a body. This particular role that I'm using, this project manager role, we have not enabled the templates permission. But for any role that is sending a regular email, say I always send my purchase orders and I want to have a standard template that goes with that purchase order, I can select that template and reduce the work of having to manually write the email each time. we're also able to add our HTML email signatures to all of our email correspondence. So as I create that, and I'll just do a subject and a body. And we're also, as you'd expect, able to add attachments to our email. So either any file directly from your computer or the transaction itself, if we're sending it from a purchase order record or an invoice record and we want to add that attachment or customer statement, we can add those attachments and we can then send the email message. And the nice thing, a couple of nice things about emailing the email system in NetSuite is that email will be saved against every record that the email is related to. And so in this example, we just sent the email to a customer. But if we sent a purchase order to a vendor, and that vendor, we had a specific contact who we sent it to, and that purchase order related to a specific project, then whenever I go to any of those records in NetSuite, the vendor or the contact or the project or the purchase order, I will see that email correspondence in all of my in all of those different records. Here's the email that we just sent. Another nice thing about the email system in NetSuite is any replies to that email, both from the customer in this example, but then also the follow-on replies from when you reply in Outlook or Gmail or whichever email client you are using. All of those replies are also automatically captured in NetSuite so that you're able to see all of that email correspondence. Furthermore, if you're wanting to reply from within NetSuite, that's fine as well. And it does support the reply all and forward functionality that you would expect. And they obey the same rules as normal email clients would in terms of forwarding attachments and things like that. If that functionality isn't quite as far as you need, we also have the ability through third-party applications to integrate with Outlook and Gmail. And so if you want to directly attach your emails and email attachments to your NetSuite records, they're directly from your Outlook interface or your Gmail interface or any other email client. And we've also got the ability to integrate those. Just remember that this email functionality is persistent across all of NetSuite. So any record that it makes sense, if I want to email a purchase order or an invoice or regarding a project or a customer, we can do this from anywhere in the system. Similarly, we've got our activities, which are common throughout the entire system. So tasks being the most common. If I want to allocate a task to an individual, and this is separate to your project tasks, which we'll get to in a moment, with a priority and a due date and what needs to be done and what transactions it relates to, and with file attachments and things like that, and the ability to track time against that task. I can do that from any record in NetSuite. And like with everything in our relational database, the person who assigned the task will see a list of all their assigned tasks on their dashboard. The assignee can see all of their tasks to do on their dashboard. We can use them as reminders. And from any of the records that this task relates to, we can see that task there, and anyone even unrelated to the task can view all of the emails and all of the tasks and all of the other activity that relates to that record. Just quickly, we've also got the ability to add files to any record in NetSuite. So if you're sending a scope of work with your quote, or if you're sending an invoice with your invoice or any other attachments, we can attach them both from an emailing point of view, but also just general file storage against records in NetSuite. So one final thing before I jump into the project's functionality, we are accessing the customer record here through a form. And the record is what is stored in the database, and the form is the way that we access that record. And so if you have different types of customers and the fields and subtabs and the lists that are relevant to your different types of customers are different, we can set up several different forms to interact with that same customer record. And like most of the things that I'm describing, that is consistent throughout the entire NetSuite experience. And so if you have different ways that you invoice your customers and you have different PDF templates that are applicable to those invoices, or if you have different types of things that you purchase, or if you have different types of projects that you run, any record in NetSuite where we want to have different views of the same record has that very easy point and click, highly configurable ability to have many different ways to access that same record. Again, normally something that most of our customers can do internally, not something that you will require external support to do. Okay, so let's jump over and have a look at a project record in NetSuite. This is what is most relevant to your professional services businesses. How do we set up our projects, define the work breakdown structure, track time and expenses, bill those time and expenses, etc. Let's go through that process. So this project that I'm looking at now is a system deployment project. We actually use NetSuite internally at Fusion 5 to manage our NetSuite deployments. And so this is very similar to our internal NetSuite. But you can see we've got the name of the project, the customer, the subsidiary, and importantly here, we have the project type. This is somewhat similar to what we were talking about with forms and records, but a little bit more advanced. With all of your projects, you're going to have many similarly structured projects where it's got a similar work breakdown structure, similar charge rules, etc. You don't want to recreate those projects from scratch every time. So we have the ability in NetSuite to create as much of the project record that is going to be consistent across many projects specific to your business. And then once you've got all of the consistent data in there, we're able to save that as a project template. And once you have that project template, you can easily create new instances of that project and save yourself a lot of time. We also have the overview here, which looks at how many hours are planned versus actual versus remaining, and the percentage of completion, the dates, how we're scheduling it, when we're expecting to start and finish the project, various segmentation and classifications for accounting purposes. And then down the bottom here, the first interesting sub-tab for us to have a look at is I call it the work breakdown structure. Some people call it project tasks. This is the structure of your project. You'll be very familiar with it from MS Project and other project management tools, which can also be integrated, by the way. It has a very similar structure to all of those tools. We can view it in many different ways. This is the planning view at the moment, but once we're into the project and we want to do it by, let's view the work breakdown structure by assignees or by tracking or variance of actual versus planned, etc. We've got lots of different views. We can also, of course, use our Gantt chart, which is very popular to visualize the state of the project as we go through. But these project tasks are really important in allocating work, allowing the users who that work has been allocated to track their time, and then go on and decide how we're going to bill the client. And so before we move on to these other tabs, we might just create a quick project task here, and we'll come back to it later as part of our demo. And so let's create a little task. We'll call it demo new task, lack of originality. If it's a subtask to one of our other indented tasks that we can see here, we can give it its parent. I'll put this outside of the overall structure for our particular use case. It's not started. Importantly, we can determine whether the task is billable or non-billable through this check work. I'm going to note that we have 25 hours of work on this particular task. I want to start it as soon as possible. I can also enter a fixed start date if I prefer. And here's where we can assign this task to a resource. And so I can either assign this task directly to a specific resource, like Abby Kwan in this case, or any other specific individual. But I also have the ability to assign the task to a generic resource. And so if I want to assign it to a project manager or a consultant or a trainer or a business analyst, I'm able to assign it to that resource group or that generic resource. And then when we view our resource planning or our resource allocation across all of our project tasks of that type, we can use this functionality to say, show me all of the tasks that are allocated to all of my individual resources, show me their capacity in either daily, monthly, or weekly views, and then we can make our allocations of generic tasks to specific resources using our resource allocation interface here. I could spend an hour going through this by itself, but I'll just leave it there because there's a lot to go through on resource allocations. But some great functionality there to make sure that people are optimally utilized. So back to our task, I'll assign this one specifically to Abby Kwan, directly to an individual. We'll say that she's going to spend 100% of her time on this task. Entering a smaller percentage of her time will flow through to that resource allocation, and it will spread that time over a longer period of time so that her total percentages on any given day, we can try and sum to her productivity target. So maybe it's 80% or 100%. The service item will define the pricing of this hourly work that we will charge to our customer, and also the general ledger impact for accounting purposes on how this will appear on the general ledger. We'll put in our total amount of planned work. If this task was being split between several resources, I could break it up into several lines here, but I'll just put all 25 hours to Abby in this case. And the unit cost will also default from the resource. So Abby is a cost of $50 per hour, but it can be edited at both a project task and a project level. So we'll set some predecessors here. So if this task happens after my initiate and we're doing, once initiate is finished, this one can start. And I have a 2-day lag between the finish of the previous task and the start of my new task. This is how I define that relationship. And that way, as the dates for all of my tasks are updated, as the project is actually worked on, all of the following tasks and their dates will remain up to date. As we saw previously, we've got all of our communication here, so files, attachments, emails, etc. We have our notes, so what is this actual task and what do I have to do? Can be done here on the notes, and time tracking as well. And just going back to some of those previous conversations, we need to remember that this is one form to access a project task record. And so if you have certain tasks that you do regularly in your business, maybe it's some design work or some paralegal work or some type of accounting work or whatever it is. And to do that task, you require certain information. We can create separate forms for the same project task, and we can add fields to capture the specific information that you need to do that task. Maybe it's an address or a contact or a file or something like that. And that way, when we create that project task, the person doing the task has all of the information that they need to complete the task right there within NetSuite, instead of having to refer to some external source. Okay, so let's save that task, and we'll come back to it in due course to see how we can track time against that task and bill that time. But before we do, we'll just move along a couple more of these tabs just quickly. So the resource tab allows us to allocate resources to the project as a whole. And that way, and we can choose whether these resources are the only resources able to track time against these tasks, or whether any resource can track time against those tasks. It just makes things a little bit cleaner once you've got a lot of projects. If you don't want to have to filter through many of them to record your time, we've got that restriction ability. And then I really want to spend just a little bit of time on the financial tab here, because it is very important. We have different billing methods available in NetSuite. I'm going to stick to charge-based for the purpose of this demo, but there are many other options that are available to us. Under a charge-based billing structure, the way that it works is we have different rules where the satisfaction of those rules create charges. And so, for example, I can have fixed fee rules. So at a particular date, we're going to charge an amount, or when a milestone is reached, we will charge an amount, or when we reach a certain percentage of project progress, we're going to charge an amount. We have time-based rules. So as I record time against my project, I want to create charges. And we have expense-based rules where we're on charging employee expenses on the project, and purchase rules where we're on charging billable expenses to our projects. And so NetSuite every night will run the charge engine, and it will look at any projects where any of the rules that have been assigned to this project have been met, and it will generate those charges, which are then billable. I'll go through with you just very quickly and create a new rule, because they're very, very flexible in how they can be set up. And so this can be our time-based billing rule. And for this rule, we're going to make the charge immediately billable, so it's ready for billing. If you want certain things to happen first before you release that charge for billing, we can have it create to a hold or non-billable status as well. What rate are we going to charge? Do we want to use that service item that we looked at previously, or do we want to use billing classes or different resource rates? Do we want to apply a multiplier to that rate? Do we want to round the time entries? And do we want to apply a cap to our time? So we'll charge for the first 10 hours or $5,000, but then we won't charge for any more time above that. So we can define very flexible rules, and then we look at whether any of them have been met, and if so, we create a charge. So let's go ahead really quickly and see that in action. So we assigned this task to Abby Kwan. So let's switch over to Abby, who's using our employee center, and we'll look at tracking some time against that task. So this is Abby. The employee license is much cheaper than a full access license, and so she has limited functionality. You'll see no global search or options up the top here. But she's able to do most of the things that she needs to as a user working on some of these project tasks. So she can see all of her tasks. She can raise purchase requests or requisition. She can enter her expense reports, and she can enter her time. So she can enter her time either directly to her project task here. So we'll be able to see the task that we just created on her dashboard. Here it is here, testing. Oh, sorry, here's the demo new task that we did just now. And under her weekly, she can either go into that task and track her time, or she can just complete her regular weekly timesheet, which is what most of our clients do. Now, the nice thing about one of the nice things about the projects module in NetSuite is all of her planned time. So when we allocated her as a resource and we said on this day, you're going to spend this percentage of your time doing this task, all of that planned time will come through to her timesheet. And so we haven't got any in this particular week, but in general, she would see a list of all of the work that she needs to complete that week. And she would be able to enter her time against that work. And she can even import all of that planned time into her actual timesheet. And so she's able to enter her time here as she goes about her week. I'll just use this one that I did just earlier today as an example. She entered 8 hours against this task. We can, of course, put a memo into that time entry, and that memo can be sent along with the invoice to the customer if necessary. And she can save and then submit that timesheet. Once Abby has submitted that timesheet, we have the ability for the project manager to approve that time. You don't have to do time approval, but it's very common with our customer base. And so Mark Collins can come in here and he can see in his reminders that he has time to approve, and he can see that one of them is our task, is our time that we just entered, which is this one right here, our 8 hours that we just entered, and we have the ability to approve that time, normally through a tick box interface. Once that time has been approved, we can jump over and we can see our accounts receivable specialist will have the ability to bill that time. So I'm going to assume that a day has gone past here, and the NetSuite billing engine has generated the charge that relates to that time on the project. You do also have the ability to manually run that charge process on a project if you need to, but generally once a day is sufficient. And so then from my accounts receivable role, I can come in here to my customers. I can go to sales and I can invoice my billable customers. And this will just show me all of the charges that have been generated that are available for invoicing. And from here, I can go on and I can do my my accounts receivable process. I can create the invoice, email it to the customer, follow up for collections, receive payment, etc., etc. Okay, so we might leave it there for the purposes of the demo. There was a lot that I didn't manage to get to there in the demo. We didn't get a chance to look at any reporting. We didn't do the resource allocations in detail. We haven't had a look at revenue recognition. We haven't had a look at budgeting and the reporting of actual versus budget. There's so much that I didn't have a chance to get through. But again, if what you saw gave you a good indication of what can be done, please feel free to reach out to Steve or myself with any questions. We'd be happy to show you a more detailed demo that is specific to your business.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Jared. And I just wanted to wrap things up. And like Jared had mentioned, it is still quite a high-level presentation of what you saw in NetSuite today, and really how we're taking customers on journey around digital transformation and using NetSuite, but also the ability for the system to grow with businesses as they scale as well, which clients like. So look, we're coming to the end of the session, and what we'll do is we'll send a copy to our attendees of the recording today, and as Jared mentioned, please, if you have any questions, happy to do a bit more deep diving and covering off other parts to NetSuite if the requirement is there. So on behalf of myself and Jared and the rest of the team at Fusion 5, I'd like to thank you very much for your time, and look forward to working with you in the near future. Thanks very much.